Hello everyone, welcome back to another edition of Homemade. Today we are going to be cooking a spatchcock chicken. And as we know, that is just a whole chicken that we're going to cut the backbone out of, press it down so it lays flat, and we're going to actually cook this in our oven. Simple, really simple. I'm going to show you how to get a juicy chicken, and the way that we're going to do that is we are going to inject it. Once we inject it, we're going to put it in our bowl, leave it covered, place it back in our refrigerator, and we're going to actually let that sit for at least an hour or two, and that's just so the juices can flow throughout the chicken, and that's what's going to give us that juicy chicken. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. I already cleaned our chicken. I just washed it in warm water, make sure I scrubbed it, the outside really good, and just removed any type of little extra feathers or anything else that was there. So the chicken is clean. You do want to make sure that your chicken is clean before you start this process. So the easiest way to spatchcock a chicken is the tail. I just go on each side of the tail, and that makes it really simple. So I'm going to go up the other side of his back. And there it is. Now I'm going to actually save this back because we will be making a chicken stock for a chicken dressing with it. So I'm just going to go ahead, set it aside. Now, if you will see, there is a cartilage in there. I like to just take my scissors, and they come apart, and just kind of press into there until you hear that crackling sound. You'll flip it over. Make sure it's flat. Place your hands in the center of the breastbone. Press it down, and your chicken will lay flat. So our chicken is currently spatchcocked. Now we're going to go ahead and inject it. So for our injection, in this bowl I have 3/4 cups of oil. I have 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire Sauce, 1 tablespoon of liquid smoke. And I'm just going to stir that around a little bit. I already have my spices combined, and in here I have 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1 teaspoon of onion powder, 1/2 teaspoon of celery salt. I also have 1 teaspoon of paprika, and I have 2 teaspoons of our Creole Seasoning. So to our liquid, we're just going to go ahead, add our spices, and I'm going to use my whisk to make sure I get these mixed in there really good. I'm going to take my injector, and if you don't have an injector, I will leave a link where you can order one off Amazon. They're really reasonable, and they do come in handy if you're injecting a turkey, chicken breast, anything like that. So what you'll do is take this, and I like to start with the breast. And this particular injector, it does come with like 3 different points to use as your injector. And this one, I'm just using the regular injector, and it is on both sides. And for our oil, you all, I just used a canola oil. You can use a vegetable oil, peanut oil, whatever kind of oil you want. It's perfectly fine. Gonna do our thighs and our legs. Once our chicken has been injected, we're going to put it into our bowl, put our bowl into the refrigerator, let that sit for at least 1 hour. Hopefully you can let it sit for 2 or more, but the longer that it's in there marinating, the better. So now I'll just take my chicken and I will place it into my bowl just like that. And I like to keep out as much of the marinade as I possibly can. So if any leaked out onto my cutting board, I typically just rake it in there. And I take what's left in my bowl and I just rub it on the outside of my chicken. We're not going to put anything else in here to marinate this chicken because, remember, we've already injected it, so it is full of juices. So we don't need anything else in there. Now, if you want to rub the inside of your chicken, that is perfectly fine where the bone is. I don't. I just make sure that I get the meaty parts, and that works perfectly fine for me. We're going to go ahead and put this into the refrigerator. Come back after an hour or two, and I'll show you how to roast it in the oven. Our chicken has been marinating in the refrigerator for an hour and a half. We are going to go ahead and get it prepped to be placed into our oven. We are going to cook the chicken in the oven on 425 degrees for the first 30 minutes. After that, and we're going to take the foil off so the outside can actually crisp and brown a little more. So I'm going to go ahead, put my gloves on. And we are going to put a dry rub on the outside of this chicken. I already have it pre-mixed here, and it is just the same spices that we use to inject the chicken. If you can see, I just have this on a regular baking sheet. Now, this baking sheet, it is wrapped in foil because I do not want my chicken to stick. Because we're actually kind of roasting the chicken, you don't want your pan to be too deep. I actually want, most of my chicken to be exposed. Now, if you don't have a shallow enough pan, again, use what you have. It is perfectly fine. So now that my chicken is out, I'm just going to go ahead and start putting my dry rub on. And I just like to sprinkle it on, and then I'll actually come back and rub it in. When you are putting your foil onto your pan, you want to make sure that it is not touching your chicken. Gonna want to make this more so into a dome. And if you'll see, none of this foil should be touching our chicken. So you want to have it in a dome. And you're going to let this cook for 30 minutes just like this. And if some of your foil does touch your chicken, you all, it's fine. It's not the end of the world, but if you can prevent it, just make sure that your foil is not touching your chicken at all. We are back, and our chicken has rested. You all, this chicken smells so good. And look how tender it is, you all. OMG. So, it is so juicy. So juicy. And I'm going to cut into the breast part, because that can be the driest part of the chicken. It is so juicy. So juicy. Yeah. When you try this recipe, because I know you will, make sure you post your pictures and your comments. If you didn't like the chicken, let me know what you didn't like about it. If you like the chicken, let me know. If it didn't turn out right the first time, let me know. But let me know, because if you want to keep seeing our easy, homemade, simple recipes, remember to like, subscribe, and share our channel. You all, cooking, it's as simple or it's as hard as you make it. But I promise you, if you keep it simple and just be yourself, life can be so much easier in the process. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Homemade. And until next time, continue to be great.